Hello. So yes, let's talk AI because there's plenty of AI talk out there, but it's often about hype and excitement about the possibilities, but very often not getting into the real detail of how businesses are using it, what you need to be aware of if you're going to implement it, and that's what we're going to discuss today. So I'm Martin SFP Bryant, and I'm joined by the panel, and so we've got Raj Shi from Microsoft, we've got Snezana Trikina from Thomas Cook, and Benjamin Wotton from Ensemble AI. Very quickly, it'd be good to just get a brief introduction from each of you to kind of set the context of where you're coming from on this topic. So we'll just move down the panel. So, Raj.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So I'm Raj. I lead the Microsoft Surface AI and Copilot Plus PC strategy. So essentially, I work with all our incredible Surface UK partners.
My name is Snezana. I'm working with Thomas Cook for, I think, the last 7 years, and I work as a software development manager, so I oversee the way how the teams are developing, and actually I see everything which goes on with Thomas Cook.
Hi everyone, my name is Ben Wotton. I'm a co-founder and CTO at Ensemble AI. We're a consultancy who help businesses with the adoption of AI, so work out their strategy and where and how do you actually use it and how do you get it into production. So good to be here.
Excellent. Just a reminder that if you've got any questions, use the QR code up there and we will put them to the panel. So first of all, though, let's dig into some real-life examples of how AI is being used in business. Snezana, how are you using AI at Thomas Cook? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, as we're online travel agency, so the companies like us, what we can do, we use it for different ways. First, I want to put things very easy. So we use it for predictive forecasting. Like imagine you're a kid and, for example, you want to buy an ice cream, and the person who is selling you the ice cream, he knows that he has a magical friend, and this friend can prompt this person that, for example, at this specific time of the year, kids like you are usually getting some chocolate ice cream or whatever. So basically, we do know how to serve our customers based on different type of historical data. So this is one good point which other companies can also use. Another one, we use it for the personalization. For example, again, imagine that you're a kid and we know that you like, for example, like you, Martin, you like reading the books about nature. So when you come to my bookshop, I will never offer you, I don't know, like fantastic or whatever book which you, or boring documentary which you will never buy from me. So I will offer you different types of books which you're interested in. So imagine like that. Any company can be a shop, but this is a dedicated shop that is targeting your interests.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so it's all about personalization.
Yeah, exactly.
Really knowing the customer. Yeah, excellent. Okay, Ben, you work with businesses in implementing AI. How are they doing that? And does the reality live up to the hype that we're sold through the media?
No, I mean, there's obviously a massive amount of buzz and hype and conversation about the potential of AI, but my read is, businesses are only probably 1% on that journey. There's a lot of kind of shadow IT where people are using like ChatGPT type co-pilots. I think every knowledge worker is kind of starting to use those, and that potentially introduces some risk. But I think even when companies start using kind of co-pilots in a more kind of approved manner, it's still only scratching the surface of what we can do with AI. I think the bigger potential is when you kind of use it to like automate your processes in a more intelligent way. And when you do that, you can also move to what people are talking about as agents, where you can basically model an employee in your business to carry out a task for you. So an example I use a lot is like chasing invoices. If I want to chase all of the people who are paying me late, maybe I could build an AI agent who will make decisions about when do I chase them, what language do I use, when do I escalate, and stuff like that. And we're only now starting to think about using AI to like automate your business. And there's so much potential in you doing that, which moves kind of far beyond using co-pilots as a productivity tool. Also, this idea of kind of using AI to monitor risks in your business as well. So we were looking at security and scams. So we've got some interesting use cases where you can look for potentially fraudulent transactions or vulnerable customers and stuff like that in your customer base, and use AI kind of ambiently to spot situations which you need to be aware of. So much potential, I guess, which we could talk about all day.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're starting to get some good questions in from the audience, so we'll come to those shortly. But Raj, it's not just about software. I think a lot of the time people think about AI, they think about ChatGPT or whatever, but Microsoft is, in particular, is starting to bake AI into hardware itself. So tell us a bit about what you're doing there.
Yeah, so I think as we're sort of navigating this sort of new era of AI and how we work, we've taken this huge leap in next-gen computing, so essentially bringing all those cloud-delivered AI experiences and capabilities down to the clients, essentially thinking about local AI processing on your devices because of the incredible compute power, now the performance and the battery life and all those things. But it's a lot around thinking about end users at the end of the day. We understand not every customer is going to be a cloud company or a technology company, and they might not even have the resources to sort of pay upfront costs to buy these licenses in the first place. So how do you bring some of these local AI experiences on the devices that they're using? So thinking about basically what we call neural processing units. So since the start of time, we've had CPUs and GPUs in PCs. Now it's a lot around the NPUs, or the neural processing units, or a dedicated AI chipset. And essentially what that does is sustains like high bandwidth workloads, a lot around AI image and video processing, a lot around bringing those AI experiences on the device, but more importantly actually offloading some of those workloads off the GPU and the CPU. So it's like you're saving battery life, better efficiency, faster processing. We all sort of struggle. We've got lots of tabs open. We're on calls. We've got emails, and over time you see your PC sort of lag or basically become slower, or you see death screens or whatever it is. It's a lot around bringing like those everyday workflows basically onto your device. And the best part about it is it's local AI processing, right? So every end user basically has control and power over your data. So that makes it secure by default, right? Pretty much giving the user all the power and really making sure you're using those AI bits and bobs in different applications and everyday apps actually that you use. And also a lot of it is quite free, given you have the right sort of operating system in place, you've got the right PCs, and we've sort of partnered with Silicon partners to bring that sort of system to silicon approach, making that AI local processing much easier.
Yeah, okay. I'd love to hear from you, Snejana, about how, when you've been implementing AI, some of the challenges you've come up across, because I think people thinking, oh, it all sounds really interesting, this, but it can't be that straightforward. So what are some of the issues you've come across been?
I think the most interesting issues were with developers. As with business, it's more or less easy because it's easy to convince stakeholders because every business wants to be profitable. So it was more or less straightforward. But with the developers and with the teams, it's a bit of different story. Because, for example, if you're coming to the developer and tell that now you can use this specific tool, or you can use ChatGPT, for example, that will help you. So the person immediately starts to see, like, are you going to fire me? What's the reason for that? Am I not that effective? So that's actually the question. So basically, first we had to overcome this. It was a challenge. But at the end, people do understand that they can take out the burden of all those easy, repetitive tasks, and they can free their time to be more effective. So, for example, now our developers can use their time to do some architectural decisions, and it's fantastic, and both for us and for them as well.
Yeah. Okay. And Ben, with the businesses you work with, what kind of challenges do they come up against?
I think there's been a bit of a gap in vision. Everybody saw ChatGPT and they think of that as AI. But as I was talking about, when you use this for like intelligent automation or to monitor your business ambiently, it's just a new world, and you have to think about, how would we implement this? How would you connect your existing systems? How do we have to get the data ready? How do we do it securely and compliantly? So businesses are kind of going through this process of working out where and how do you integrate it. And I think when that starts to click, then you have all of these kind of practical considerations about getting the data ready. How do you do it securely and compliantly? How do you build all of the right APIs into your systems and stuff? So there's a lot of challenges, get the right vision, understand how do you make it a reality, and then all of these little kind of obstacles that you have to overcome along the way, which is why I think this is going to be a multi-year journey for businesses, especially kind of big, complex enterprise where they've got legacy systems, embedded complex workflows, 101 regulations, compliance laws, which they have to be adhered to. So AI is not going to happen in the space of a month or two. It's a multi-year journey in businesses like this. So, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of businesses look to companies like Microsoft to help them with that. So how is Microsoft approaching those concerns around compliance with regulations when it's offering AI products?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, the way we see it is, Microsoft runs on trust, and essentially with all the products we have, right, hardware or software, we talk about, security sort of built in as opposed to bolted on. And what that means is that for everyday users, regardless of you're a business user or just a personal, you've got these personal licenses or you're consuming these products, essentially you want to have that peace of mind that, whatever you're doing, your data stays with you. You have control. Microsoft has absolutely no view of what you're doing. So essentially, throughout our systems and processes, we build enterprise-grade security, with devices, for example, starting from the moment you turn on a PC to biometric authentication, having single sign-in security, and more importantly, actually thinking about security at each layer. So starting from your hardware to your chips, basically your firmware, your operating system, your apps, your cloud. Essentially, all of that data stays with you, and essentially we've built, almost these guardrails. So in case something wrong does happen, you've always got something to fall back to, and that's why we want to make sure that enterprises have the best of what we have to offer, and really comes back to how we've engineered and built these products. So it's secure by design, essentially.
Okay, yeah. I work with a lot of very early stage startups. I interview them, I profile them, and there's so many early stage AI startups at the moment, and the best ones of those are very mindful that when they're selling to businesses, they have to think about data security, data silos, all of that, very important.
Just to say, I do think it's important that we bring AI out of like shadow IT, because your employees are going to be using it today, and they can be logging on to any random AI system, or even ChatGPT, a personal account, you have to opt out of letting them use your data, whereas a business account, you have to opt in to let them use your data. So what you want to do is get away from people using personal tools, but give your employees good tools, but in a controlled, compliant way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Remove a lot of risk by doing that.
Yeah. Kind of related to that, there was a good question from Sam, which asks, is it up here? There we go. What are the legal implications behind AI-led decision-making? For example, discrimination in candidate application process shortlisting. So this is about businesses deferring their decision-making to AI. Ben, do you have any thoughts on this?
A lot of the rules still apply, right, from the old world. So for things like discrimination, you have to kind of adhere to all of the existing rules and legal frameworks and things like that. At that point, there is a gap in the specific use cases of AI. Things like the EU AI Act are kind of developing, but I think there is still a degree of like regulatory risk as we start to kind of implement AI into these processes. and which is why we have to kind of move very carefully, using all of the technical tools at our disposal, also working closely with like your compliance people, your legal people, as you put an AI solution into place. It's also super important to keep kind of humans in the loop as you start to roll out AI solutions. So I would never just let AI review my business applications because of this risk and kind of automatically reject people. I think a better solution is to let the AI do a first pass. It could summarize the application, it could flag, key skills and key characteristics, but ultimately a human should be making that decision. Over time, you'd get to a situation where a human is just clicking yes, 99 times out of 100, and then maybe we do let AI take over. But for now, in this earliest phase, you have to be very careful, particularly in, regulatory situations.
Yeah, and so let's just think about kind of expanding that, because ethical AI is something that was a big talking point when these tools first started arriving, and everyone was talking about how you had to make sure they weren't going to take over the world, and all of that, and OpenAI was talking about how responsible they were, and not just OpenAI, but all the big AI companies, the big companies behind the models, have started to talk more about profits and about business, and that kind of AI safety conversation has kind of taken a bit of a backseat. I see Anthropic have taken that shift just this week. So I just wanted to ask you all really what ethical AI looks like, and how businesses can make sure they have that in mind when they're deploying AI. Snejana, how about you?
I think it also should be all about transparency, because there should be somewhere, for example, if you're doing if AI does some decisions, so there should be some specific transparent logics behind that, and people should understand how these decisions were made and how that candidate was shortlisted or not.
Yeah, on the platforms, you do have a lot of these tools for like observability and monitoring, and track what decisions the models are making and stuff, and it's super important to watch out. And the point I would repeat is this idea of like humans in the loop as well. Just be really careful before you hand over the whole process to a piece of AI.
Raj, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, agreed, completely comes back to how you train the model, the data, who's sort of, in control, basically looking at, the different sources, and if you're sort of diversifying your data sources, but really doing that in a succinct, transparent, ethical way, so that there is no bias in the decision making throughout the process, and comes back to letting the users know exactly what's being used, what kind of data is being retained, processed, and so on. So yeah, it's a two-way stream really.
Yeah, interesting. Just adding to that, the big challenge of improving AI models is the concept of ethics. Oh, it's disappeared now. The question's disappeared, so never mind. Let's see. What other questions have we got here that we could ask just to round things off? Here's a good general one from Tom C. What are the most effective ways you've seen AI implemented for businesses? So just a little bit of inspiration. Maybe start with Ben and move down this way.
So far, I think it has to be the co-pilots that everyone's using, and we're using them in more and more creative ways, dragging and dropping your kind of business data, using it to kind of critique your work and stuff like that. I do think we haven't really started there. I think the next phase will be kind of back office automation, replicating what employees do. And I haven't actually seen a lot of that. Things like automated sales agents, there's been some progress in there, where you can do outreach to customers. Some customer service stuff. I'm aware of some good contact center case studies, but generally, I don't think we've started achieving the potential which we can do here.
A lot of the software to actually do those things isn't quite there yet. I think in a lot of cases. Yeah. Snejana, how about you?
So we can also start with chatbots. I think a lot of websites are using chatbots, not only us. So if you have a lot of questions which are repeated daily, all the time, so you can just use chatbot to do this. For our developers, it's definitely we're using a lot. So we want to start implementing it with our testers, because there are a lot of ways to do it with automation testing and so on and so forth, and to discover vulnerabilities. And even when the developer writes the code, then it should be very easy to analyze it and to see where the vulnerability is and where the person should put most of the effort for testing. So it's, yeah.
And Raj, any favorite ways businesses have been implementing AI so far?
Yeah, I think if we sort of break it down, for example, education, we talk about sort of improving student learning outcomes, so a lot around learning management systems, how students being taught, how is curriculum designed. We look at public sector use cases, a lot around government, sort of lots of image and document processing, a lot of confidential sensitive information, PII data, really object detection, natural language processing and translation. A lot of these things I think bleed into different verticals, but coming back to I think everyday use cases, what does the everyday user want out of AI? It's to make things more efficient, right? Reduce context switching, stay in the work flow, basically stay in the apps. Like if I'm joining a call, do I want some AI generated notes or summaries out of that? If I can't join, if I've joined halfway through, are there any actions for me? How can I take that through to my documents, in the apps, the people I work with, basically write some emails, or basically even sort of extract some data pieces, chuck it here and there, and even if I need to save, for example, some contact details or information in my CRM. So it's almost like kickstarting a workflow one after another, but having that in a seamless sort of way, end to end, right? I think that's really useful for everyday users. And I think even internally, I think we all use these features and functionalities to basically make things easier for us, right? Faster, easier, and makes our life easier every day at work and outside work.
Brilliant. Okay, well, hopefully that's been a useful panel with some kind of perspectives you don't often hear from AI discussions. So thank you very much to the panel. Please give them a round of applause.